Hello, and thanks to the Helena community for tuning in today and for Helena Civic TV for hosting us. My name is DYLAN KLAPMEIER. I'm the chairman of the Helena Citizens Council, and I've represented District 4 on the Helena Citizens Council, or HCC, for about 3 years. I'm joined here today with a few of my fellow HCC representatives.
Hi, my name is Denise Roth-BARBER, and I represent District 7 on the council, and I've been on the council for, I don't know, several years.
I'm Diana Hammer. I have been on the council, this is my second year, and I represent District 1.
My name is Benjamin Kuiper. I'm from District 2, and I've been on the HCC since November 2020.
Thank you. I appreciate you all joining me today for this presentation. So I want to talk a little bit about the Helena Citizens Council, who we are and what we do. The Helena Citizens Council is made up of 28 elected neighborhood representatives. The city of Helena is split into 7 different neighborhood districts, and 4 representatives are elected from each district in the municipal elections every other year. So we have a municipal election coming up this year in November 2021, where you'll get to elect your mayor and city commissioners. But in addition to that, you'll get to elect representatives of the Helena Citizens Council. The role that we play within the structure of the city government, we are part of the city charter, and we are charged with making recommendations to the city commission on issues related to the city budget, as well as the future development of the city. And that's pretty broad. So we meet once a month. We've been meeting through Zoom, and we usually bring in a variety of city staff to present to us each month on whatever topics are of interest to the HCC representatives, or items that come to us from members of the community. Sometimes we will make recommendations, and then we formally present those recommendations to the Helena City Commission at their next meeting. Some topics that we've engaged in recently: we just finished our budget recommendations for this fiscal year, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But we engage in a variety of topics that come to us that are important to our city. We've discussed things like the city's e-bike policy on city trails, the BD Street trailhead development, the changing out of all of the city's street lights by Northwestern Energy and that impact of that on our night skies. We've talked about water and conservation issues, which we'll also get into today. And then most recently, the deer management program, or urban wildlife management program, which mostly pertains to the large deer populations in the city. And that's actually probably going to be adopted by the City Commission within their budget this year, that recommendation to fund that program. We have some openings right now on the HCC, so you can go to helenacitizenscouncil.com and type in your address to figure out which district you live in. We've got openings in District 2, 5, and 6, and there's an application on our website that you can fill out if you'd like to join us before the elections this November. And the final thing I would just say is the Helena Citizens Council is a great way to get involved in city government if you either want to make recommendations or just learn more about what your city commission, city manager, and mayor are doing for the city. So Helena's city government we have a city commission that's elected citywide. There's 4 of them, 5 including the mayor, which is different than some other towns like Missoula, which has a city council elected of many more people from various parts of the city. So that's the role that we play. We are the voice of the various neighborhoods to the city government. At this point, since we just finished our budget recommendations, I want to turn it over to one of our budget committee members, Ben Kuiper, to talk a little bit about how the Helena Citizens Council is involved in the city budget.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. So the Helena City Charter gives us a unique opportunity to provide recommendations to the Helena City Commission on the budget as they develop it. And we do this through a process that has been developed by the HCC throughout the years, and that includes forming a budget committee, and we did that this year in January. And this year it was about 3 people, but it varies from year to year depending on interest in the HCC. So to start out, to get the ball rolling, we had to identify issues that are important to the community and to the HCC and to the commission. And we did that through community input or through the HCC members that have served for a while. They know what routinely pops up. And the most, I guess the biggest way that we identified those issues is through the commission meetings themselves. Because sometimes months out from the budget process, they'll be talking about issues that concern the community. And we were able to draft recommendations based off of those issues prior to the preliminary budget coming out. Now, in early May, the city manager released the preliminary budget, and we really had to get going because we had about 3 weeks to go from the release of the preliminary budget to our completed draft recommendations. So we were able to take a deep dive into the preliminary budget and come up with specific recommendations on certain funds. And that took about 2 weeks. So we decided to have 2 budget committee meetings this year. I'm not sure if that's normal or if that's been repeated in the past, but the first meeting was informative. We went through our recommendations line item by line item and took feedback from the HCC because their feedback was important to us because only 3 people made the draft recommendations. So we took the HCC's feedback and implemented that into a new draft recommendation that we saw the second meeting. So in that second meeting, we discussed the new amendments that were brought forward, and we ended up voting on the budget as a whole, or the budget recommendations as a whole. And we ended up, after robust discussion, we unanimously approved the budget, and I think it's a document that we're all proud of. So that was forwarded to the commission by our wonderful treasurer, Nancy Perry, and she gave them a rundown, and hopefully they'll be using that to guide some of their decision making this year. So.
Thanks, Ben. We appreciate your work on that. And if members of the public want to go see our recommendations, they can again go to helenacitizenscouncil.com, and we've got the document up there. Next, I want to turn it over to Diana. She's the HCC's representative on the Water Quality Protection District to talk a little bit about the work that you've been doing there.
Sure. Thank you, Dylan. So I do serve as a voting member on the Water Quality Protection District Board. There's probably about 10 or so of us on that board. And we advise on water quality and water quantity issues in the Helena area. And we're focusing a lot on water quality issues in the valley, so and water quantity issues. And it's important. People in the valley have well and septic, and so thinking about the availability and the quality of their water is really important. So I enjoy serving on that board, and like you mentioned earlier, in addition to serving on that board, being on the HCC is a way to learn more about what's going on in our local government and hear about things that are before the city, and the ability to weigh in on things that are important to me and my neighbors and in District 1. So thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Can you tell us a little bit of what the Water Quality Protection District has been working on specifically, maybe in the last 6 months or year?
Sure. I've only been on the board for a little over a year, but the Water Quality Protection District has an extensive water monitoring network looking at surface and groundwater, and they work with local landowners to test their water, and they come up with trends in water quality and water quantity over time. And so that's a really valuable service. Right now, we're developing some outreach materials to clearly communicate the key issues that folks should be aware of. We've got, there are massive technical reports that are hard for most people to, most of us don't have the time or maybe the background to really dive in, but there's some key points to pull out of those documents. So we've been developing those key talking points in a fact sheet to help residents better understand the water quality and water quantity issues.
Thank you. We appreciate you serving on that committee.
Yeah.
Water issues in Helena and the Helena Valley have been really important topics for quite some time. Next, I want to turn it over to Denise, who's our representative on the Citizen Conservation Board, and some of the recommendations that you've been working on.
Yeah. So The Helena Citizens Council has a lot of our members will serve on various boards, and that's a way for us to kind of know what's going on in the city. So we, the city created the Helena Citizen Conservation Board a couple years ago to address climate change impacts and what the city of Helena can do to address that. So I represent HCC on the Conservation Board, and we're a pretty busy committee. We do a lot of work. We're actually trying to help the city reduce its waste stream, and a lot of people don't understand that, you know, waste is part of the whole climate change issue, but it's all about how much materials we just go through and toss, and try to figure out how we can reduce our own use of materials and then keep things out of the landfill. And then the committee works a lot on making recommendations to the city on energy usage, what the city itself can do, and what residents can do. So if you want more information, you can look at the Helena Citizen Conservation Board. We're on the city website. So.
Great. And the Citizen Conservation Board just recently came out with some recommendations for the city. Is that correct?
Right. So similar to HCC, we're an advisory board, so we don't have any decision-making authority, but our job is to advise the city. So we went through the budget and looked at the city's proposed fiscal year 21 budget and looked at like how much the money the city wanted to appropriate for water, waste, and funding the sustainability coordinator position, which is a relatively new position in the city. So yeah, similar to HCC. And then, you know, I bring it back to the HCC, who then in turn either supports what the board is doing or not. It's up to the Citizens Council.
Thanks, Denise. Well, as you can see, there's quite a few topics that the Helena Citizens Council engages in, and it really is led by the neighborhood district members or community members. Our meetings are open to the public, and it's easier than ever to join the meetings now because they are through Zoom. So again, if you go to helenacitizenscouncil.com, we've always post our agenda and the Zoom link up there, and members of the public are welcome to tune in. And if there's recommendations that you want to bring to us or you want the HCC to consider, we periodically hear from our neighbors and members in our districts, and it's a good way for us to see what topics and issues or areas of interest are important to the various areas around town. And it is very diverse. You know, we never really know what we might end up discussing from one month to the next, but that's what really makes our work exciting and has really allowed me the opportunity to understand the issues that are going on in Helena and how the city government responds to those issues. So I just want to thank the Helena community for listening in today and learning a little bit more about what we do and the role that we play in the city. And we really are looking for new people to join us. It's very easy to apply. Again, we have openings in District 2, 5, and 6, and we'll be electing new representatives this coming November in the city elections, and we look forward to continuing to engage on the budget and then any other issues that are brought to our attention. So with that, again, thanks to the Helena community. We appreciate you putting your trust in us in the neighborhood districts, and hopefully some of you will be interested in joining us.